Do you recall what happened on May 28th, 2016?
No, I do not.
Where were you? That was the day Harambe was shot and killed.
Welcome to Nice Ashes. Join hosts Mike and Nate for cigars and culture. Let's go beyond the smoke.
What are we smoking today, Nate?
We are smoking a Level Connecticut Robusto and the Level line of cigars. So far, I've only ever been able to find at Benny's in Chicago. And the reason this one hit my radar was because a listener and several-time guest on the show, Simha, sent me a message once saying, you have to try these Level cigars. They're very, very good. And when I went to visit him in Chicago and I told him I had to go to Benny's to get the Level cigar, he was like, what are you talking about? And so I told him he was the one that recommended these cigars, and he said he had no recollection of anything of that nature. So I searched back in our chat history and showed him where he told me that these were fantastic cigars. And do you remember, Mike, what I said these were? It was like $2 or $3 per stick on these, maybe $3. So I sent him a threatening message earlier today and I said, we're doing the Levels. They better be good. So we'll see.
I'm sure they'll be fine. Better than some of the cigars we've had on this season.
Perhaps.
And
my wrapper is cracked near the end a bit, but I'm hoping it's only the first inch or so. So I'm hoping that'll be not a big issue.
I'm glad you mentioned that because mine is as well. Mine goes in about 1 1/8 inches, I would say.
Sure. First few puffs are what I would expect from a Connecticut, I suppose.
Yes, it's along those lines. Not a very good Connecticut, just a Connecticut.
Yeah, pretty standard. I am pairing mine with something else pretty standard for Nate, which is the Simpler Times lager from Trader Joe's.
I wanted to give this one the best chance possible, so I'm pairing it with a glass of water and a Guinness.
There you go. It's a little strange to be back in the recording swing. We've had so many banked up for so long, Mike.
It is weird, but we're going to get back into the swing here for the early winter and make it happen.
Yes, indeed. Hard to believe it's already September.
It is. It was like 90 degrees today.
I know. I'm in the garage here, and I'm glad I put the windows in. I think I mentioned that an episode or two ago, where I put windows in that I can open and have screens. But it's still warm in here, and I put the box fan in the window to blow kind of cooler air in. But still toasty in here a bit. So again, that'll change in probably a week or 2 weeks whenever the cold snap comes. But
yeah, for now it's nice. So what are we going to talk about today, Nate?
Well, Mike has done such a good job with conspiracy theories all this season, that I thought I'd take a stab at one of my own. Not one of my own conspiracies, but a stab of my own at a conspiracy theory.
Sure.
Are you excited, Mike?
I am.
This one you may remember, I'm sure you do, but we're going back to 2016, May 28th. Do
what happened
you recall what happened on May 28th, 2016?
No, I do not.
Where were you? That was the day Harambe was shot and killed.
Nice. That was a real tragedy.
Well, it may have been, Mike. It actually may have been, according to these conspiracies that I found.
Oh, really? I see. And now I've never heard a Harambe conspiracy theory, and I'm excited for sure. I'm excited to be entertained.
Okay. All right. Yes. Are you not entertained?
I remember the memes with Leslie Jones, and then there was like a incident with her and a sex scandal. Not her fault. And that was big news for probably like 3 months, I would say.
Sure. I've got just kind of like the main ones. So I'm going to kind of walk through what happened. I'm going to walk through some of the conspiracy theories, and then I've got a little bit deeper dive into my favorite of them. So, Harambe was born on May 27th, 1999 at Gladys Porter Zoo, which is in Brownsville, Texas. And in September of 2014, he moved to the Cincinnati Zoo. And on May 28th, 2016, which is 2 years after the move, a 3-year-old boy climbed into the gorilla moat. Harambe dragged him around for about 10 minutes before zoo staff shot the gorilla to protect the child. And I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about the incident there. And this is all on video. as far as I know. I mean, I saw the video of Harambe pulling the child around, and while it looked intense, it didn't look like it was, an angry thing. I mean, there were lots of people online saying that Harambe was trying to protect the child. But again, it's a gorilla, wild animal. I wasn't there. Okay, so on May 28th, 2016, a boy fell into the Cincinnati Zoo's gorilla enclosure, where the 17-year-old western lowland gorilla named Harambe spent about 10 minutes dragging the boy through the moat. The zoo's dangerous animal response team shot and killed Harambe to protect the child's life, as they believed a tranquilizer would have taken too long to act. And the incident sparked widespread public outcry and debates about zoo safety and animal rights. And I believe with the parent that was there with the child, letting the child climb into the enclosure, because I think the enclosure was like up to your standard zoo safety standards.
Yeah,
where, if you wanted to get into the cage, Mike, you certainly could on most animals.
Right. Yeah. To my remembrance, it was not really the zoo's fault. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So the 3-year-old boy climbed over the barrier and he fell about 15 feet into the moat at the Cincinnati Zoo. And a lot of these animal enclosures around, larger animals have a moat or some kind of really deep kind of cement gorge or something, right? I don't know. I guess a moat is applicable. And 10 minutes prior to the shooting, Harambe entered the moat and interacted with the boy. During this time, he carried the child, with Harambe's companions having retreated to their enclosure. So there were other gorillas in there. And zoo officials made the decision to shoot a lethal shot, as they thought the tranquilizer wouldn't act quickly enough to save the child. So they shot and killed Harambe. The boy was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and Harambe's death resulted in significant public reaction, with widespread discussion and calls for accountability from the zoo and the child's parents. So it seems like you wouldn't have to tell a parent, hey, maybe don't let your kid climb into an animal enclosure at the zoo.
Dude, there's never a bottom to that well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
people will always be irresponsible, no matter what.
Yes.
Public safety 101 with little kids. Make sure that they're within your eyesight at all times at a bare minimum.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Especially like a 3-year-old. Like, that kid needs to be attached to you somehow, for sure.
Yes. Well, and you have, I see so many parents out there that have, I don't know that control is necessarily the right word, but they don't have control of their kids, and they're not aware of where their kids are, and they're not aware of what their kids are doing. And it seems like they've never had a serious conversation about safety with their children at all. I
mean, undoubtedly they haven't done that. They don't have control of their own household because they haven't put in the energy and time to have obedient children. So at least in public, the majority of the time, right? Like, we have to be reasonable when it comes to little kids, obviously, but like, most people are so fucking lazy that they're not willing to put in the work when it comes to raising children.
Yeah. That is a sad state of affairs, or a sad truth of modern parenting, although it might have been true of a lot of parenting. I mean, you look back at some of the older parenting styles from before, when we were kids, but even before then, and I think like the British in, I don't know if it was the 40s or something, just as soon as their kid was old enough, they shipped them off to boarding school, and they never interacted with their kids until they were an adult. And I don't know. I guess it worked to some extent back then, but
it worked because they had a whole staff of people to replace the parents at these schools, right? Like, not that it's the ideal environment for them, but they were definitely disciplined, probably overly so. Right.
Well, likely overly so, but, structure, and it doesn't have to be, spankings or corporal punishment or things of that nature, but any kind of structure is good for kids, is what I've read in a lot of things.
I mean, I don't know the percentages, but I'm going to guess that parent did not read a parenting book, right?
Yeah. How to have a new kid by Friday, but it was only Thursday.
Exactly. A new kid. They're 3. Like, in 3 years, this person has not read one book to help them with their child.
Yep. Well, it's crazy because my son is currently 2 and my daughter is 5, and she was 2 and 3 and, all the years before. And I've taken them to the zoo many, many times, and we've gone as a family. I've taken them just by myself, and they've never climbed up on any of the fences because I've told them not to. and they know not to do that. Sure, accidents can happen, and that's what a lot of things do happen really fast as a parent. So there's also that. I mean, I haven't read, this isn't an episode about this person's parenting skills. So that's not what it's supposed to be about. And I know as a parent, things can happen very, very fast. And even as a non-parent, somebody just walking through life, things can happen very, very fast. You don't pay attention, or you look down from the road for a split second, all that stuff. So, but you can also be aware of your surroundings and inform your children not to do silly things, because you play silly games and you win silly prizes. Still with me, Mike?
Yes. I felt that was a natural break.
Yes. That was Mike's way of saying, get on with the conspiracies. That's why I'm here, damn it.
That's right. That and shame, parents, shame. I remember the online. Are we going to talk about any of the online reaction? Because that was like psychotic. Some of that stuff.
Yeah, we can. Do you want to talk about
bizarre.
that right now, or after we go through the conspiracies?
After.
Let's do that at the end. Yeah,
we can do that at the end.
I know. I did all this research, I don't know, like a month and a half or 2 months ago. We haven't recorded for that long, and we've had a couple guests on and not really had a full episode except for last week's, which was the Jurassic Park one. So I'm looking through here and I'm like, I don't know how I thought I had enough here to fill up a whole, like hour and a half, but we likely will. But we can talk about online reactions and stuff too. So the first conspiracy theory is the one that most of these things end up being called at some point or another, is a distraction theory or psyop.
Right. Which, I mean, that's a ridiculous setup, but it could be true. I don't
it
could
know.
be, I guess. It's not necessary to create psyops like that because of the number of people in the country. That's my position. It's just not necessary.
The people will create it as a psyop themselves.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The claim was that, and this is one that this was 9 years ago, over 9 years ago now, and this conspiracy theory is something that is still in the modern parlance, because it seems that every time people rally around releasing the Epstein files and the Epstein list, some other thing happens, like building a nuclear reactor on the moon or other things that I'm not going to mention because the wound is still too open. So the distraction theory for Harambe was that Harambe was sacrificed to shift the media focus during everything that was going on in 2016. So if you remember, there was Brexit was going on, Hillary's email scandal, and there was just a bunch of rising political chaos at the time.
Oh, I think it was used as a psyop, but I don't think that they don't need to generate that. There's random shit that goes on. Yeah, they just need to. The local news cycles will generate these crazy stories. I'm sure there's going to be one up in my area eventually where some Yahoo will do something psychotic, and then instead of just making local news, it'll make national news because they need a distraction. Like, there's crazy stuff going on all the time. We just don't hear about it.
Hey, don't have it be some crazy Yahoo. It could be you, Mike. It could be you. If you believe in yourself and try hard, it could be you.
I mean, I guess so. Sure.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so saying that Harambe's death was a psyop, that was planned from the get-go. I guess it's not hard to get a kid to jump into a pen with an animal, right? Like, oh, it's a teddy bear, go get it. Or here's a piece of candy, whatever. But how would you know the story that the population will grab onto and latch onto? Because I know there's been some other stories that the news media has tried to talk about, and people are like, yeah, I don't care. And then it disappears and you don't hear about it anymore. And I think if the news media were able to generate that kind of traction whenever they wanted to, that's all it would be, is we'd be going from one crazy story to another crazy story, and everyone would be so incited. And wait a second. Anyway,
Strange.
My point is that
correlation, not causation.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, Mike, is that they likely didn't orchestrate it. It just happened to be something that they noticed people were giving attention to. So they decided to fill all their time slots on the news with Harambe's death instead of the other things that were grabbing people's attention that perhaps the people in charge of the media didn't want people to be paying attention to. If you were a conspiracy theorist and believed that sort of thing.
I mean, I don't even think that's conspiracy at this point. I think that's just accurate, right? Yeah. I think most people think that's true.
It's accurate in Minecraft. I don't know who's listening.
Anything is permissible in Tsarist Russia.
Yes. All right. So that was the first one. The next one is the Illuminati ritual symbolism theory. So Illuminati has to pop up every once in a while, right? It's been a while since I've heard a good like Illuminati thing.
Yeah, they're always pretty good.
Yeah. So this one is the claim that elite groups staged Harambe's death as a symbolic sacrifice aligning with occult symbolism, and they went all in on triangles on zoo maps and everything. So it's kind of internet paranoia merging with broader satanic Illuminati conspiracies. So, and I don't really know a whole lot about the Illuminati, Mike, and maybe that's the point, is that nobody really knows a whole lot about them.
I think that's part of the plan.
It's easy to have an enemy that you don't know anything about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know anything about them, but they're real. I promise.
They're real, and they're here, and they hate us. And gorillas for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So for a while, I thought it was going to be, National Treasure 3, Harambe at the zoo or something. Because a lot of people accused the founding fathers of being Illuminati, didn't they? Or starting the Illuminati, Ben Franklin?
No. The Illuminati were supposedly around way before them, but they were all involved in secret societies and that sort of jazz. That was really common back then, more common than it is now. But most of them were Freemasons and a lot of them were deists. So they were, I mean, you can try to rebrand them as Christians, but it's a brand of Christianity that is not like evangelical Christianity, that's for sure. You know what I mean? A lot closer to Unitarianism than Christianity.
Yep. Well, and I know Thomas Jefferson rewrote the New Testament and took all the miracles out of it and called it the Jefferson Bible. So they were interesting characters.
He claimed to be a deist largely to not be persecuted, from what I understand, because atheism was still illegal in large parts of the United States for the majority of his lifetime. So
yes. Well, and that's a good thing to remember going back, and maybe why a lot of these societies were secret to begin with, because if they had values that disagreed with what was legal at the time, then you had to keep them secret. It's the same thing as saying like, oh, they made these secret societies so they could control the world and become lizard people and things like that. But a lot of time it was just people trying to escape persecution, from what I understand.
That's my understanding as well.
I mean, not the KKK, but the other ones.
Well, I mean, there's always examples of the sort of heinous shit that users. People. Yeah, exactly. Like heinous shit that people plan, and then there's other people. Like there's a variety.
Yeah. All right. Then there's a Mandela effect theory. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Mandela effect, but that's when people kind of misremember things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is one that makes your wife upset. So we don't have to mention the bears, but.
Berenstain Bears.
So people with Harambe misremember either the date, thinking that it happened a lot earlier, or details of it where the boy died and the gorilla survived, or that it was a tranquilizer and it wasn't killed. And so there's a quote here from a Reddit post saying, I remember joking about Harambe, but when I checked, Google claims Harambe died after I would have been making the RIP Harambe jokes. But there's nothing new about people misremembering things, although there are some very strange like cultural misremembrances. But again, not the topic of this episode. The next theory is that Harambe is still alive.
I think I've heard this one. I think I've actually heard this one.
They claim that he wasn't shot, perhaps moved secretly, faked the death, or lives under witness protection. I guess he saw too much, and they put him down in South America with Adolf.
Yeah, that goes into the psyop. I think I might have heard that as a joke once. Not like...
Yeah. Well, I don't understand why anyone would believe that one. Like, why would they need... He's a gorilla at a zoo. Just move him and say you sent him to, I don't know, the Chinese zoo in exchange for an exotic animal or something. Like, who's going to follow up with that? Why would you need to disappear a gorilla?
It doesn't make any sense unless it's like some psyop that's somehow animal loving, like an animal loving psyop to make you not pay attention to crimes against humanity.
Yeah, or, take the heat off of PETA for euthanizing dogs.
Something like that.
All right. And the last one here before we get into my favorite one is the meme reincarnation theory. So Harambe became a martyr because memes just sucked. And they were able to then, after he passed, come out with memes like Dicks Out for Harambe. And Vox dubbed Harambe 2016's Meme of the Year. And People magazine highlighted a wave of fake tributes. And the academic analysis on this one says that Harambe's death represented the tipping point when meme culture overlapped with major political trends. And now this one might be true because a lot of people get their news from memes, and the meme news is actually a lot more truthful than what you find on media outlets.
Yeah, I like that one. I was still meme lording at that time, so I saw a ton of Harambe memes. And then the fallout, the associated memes. There's memes and memes and memes that just went all along with it because they did the Leslie Jones Harambe meme, which then drugged that a whole nother set of shit in, and that was when Ghostbusters came out. So then Ghostbusters got drug into the Harambe thing, and it just built.
Well, it was funny because my brother got a tattoo of a gorilla, and he got it, and I think he must have got it like right before Harambe. And I was like, oh, you got Harambe? Because I hadn't seen him until after the fact. And he was like, no, this isn't Harambe. It's just a gorilla. And I was like, oh, okay. So just poor timing on his part, I guess.
Dude, forever. I hope I see that tattoo. I hope so. I'm going to ask him if it's fucking Harambe. I'm not just going to ask him randomly. It's got to be visible. But if I see it, I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, I think it's on his chest or his side or something. So maybe it's on his arm. So there's a chance he can see it.
Chance. Yeah. Summer barbecue.
We'll just have to go to the beach or something, right? Yeah. Put a pool up in the yard. All right. Now, where are you at with your cigar, Mike?
I'm not quite halfway, but I'm right in that zone.
Yep, I'm almost halfway, but not quite. You want to do our check now?
Yeah, we might as well. That way we don't forget.
Yep.
It's fine. It's a standard Connecticut. For $3, I would say it's adequate. But for $10, this would not be something I would smoke for sure. It's just fine.
Yep. It's fine. It's got a slight kind of acidic aftertaste if you take a big enough puff or two puffs close together. That isn't entirely pleasant, but it's not overwhelming, and it's not anything to really put me off of this one. But again, it's like $3, so it's fine. I think it would be one that would likely do really well as a tequila cigar.
I would agree with that. I will also note that I have been letting it rest.
Okay.
I immediately started letting it rest because I could tell just from the light up that it was going to turn sour if I smoked it too hot. So if you're experienced, you know right away. Well, yeah, you've been doing more talking, and I've been purposefully letting it set so that I don't get it hot.
Yep. Now, my favorite Harambe conspiracy, and this is the one that prompted this whole episode, is the dark timeline theory. Have you heard of the dark timeline theory, Mike?
I have not, but I'm excited now. I am excited.
All right. So, this theory claims that the shooting of Harambe on May 28th, 2016, for those of you that forgot the date, remember it because it is a turning point, that the shooting of Harambe caused a rift in the timeline, a turning point where reality itself began to deteriorate. Everything after that moment, the theory suggests, started to spiral into chaos, absurdity, and dysfunction. In short, Harambe was the butterfly that flapped its wings and caused a cultural tornado. And you'll still see this theory online in darker corners of the internet somewhere, some places, or, places where Mike used to hang out back in the day, where they say, well, geez, Charlie Kirk would still be alive if they hadn't shot Harambe. Right, because it's the dark timeline. So
sure, it's similar to the Mandela effect in certain ways.
Yep.
Yeah, butterfly effect mixed in. Very interesting. Yes. It's kind of like The Matrix.
Yeah. Well, The Matrix said 1999 was the peak of humanity, and
so far,
I can't fucking tell them they were wrong.
So far, it's hard. It's very hard for us.
Yep. So I've got some dates here and some events that happened post Harambe. June 23rd, 2016, the Brexit vote passes and the UK votes to leave the European Union, stunning global markets. July 2016, Pokemon Go launches. People roam the streets like zombies. And people were getting hit by cars and shit because they're trying to catch Pokemon. Do you remember that, Mike? When you'd see people just out?
I remember people
you never
driving
saw so many
around.
people out. Yeah.
Dude, they were like, the good people were walking. I have a couple friends with younger kids at that time, and they would take their kids out walking. And it was actually kind of nice, positive. But then you have these adults who would use their cars to drive to Poke spots and then look at their fucking phone driving around neighborhoods and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, people would wander across, like in the cities here, people would wander across streets, busy streets and things, trying to catch these,
That's awesome.
and it's like, fuck.
That's awesome.
Of course, you got a lot of bike paths and things down here, too. So it was kind of chaos for a bit. Not like it's ever not been chaos, but a little more so. People being actively distracted, I guess. All right. The next one is, I don't know if you remember this, Mike. This might be a whole episode, worth a whole episode on its own. But August of 2016, we had the clown sightings began across the United States. Do you remember that? People were seeing clowns everywhere?
Yes, I do. Similar to the GIMP effect.
Yep. November 8th, 2016, Donald Trump wins a presidential election. And I guess that depends on what side of the aisle you're on, or if you're on anything other than the middle, I guess. I don't know.
They got to get over it.
Yeah, you got to get over it. 2017 onward, there was a rise in political polarization with QAnon, post-truth culture, and some increasing global instability. And then in 2020, of course, we had the global pandemic, lockdowns, misinformation, and breakdowns in civil trust. And 2024, 2025, it says ongoing. The AI boom, deep fakes, media fragmentation, economic uncertainty, and nothing feels real anymore. So again, I'm not sure that it's causation, but I can't really argue.
Right.
You have to pick a lynch point or linchpin point in the timeline. Harambe is a pretty attractive one.
From a certain point of view.
Yes. I can't believe you hadn't heard about the dark timeline.
No, I have not. I haven't been on the internet I haven't been in that zone of the internet in many years.
Sure. Well, and I'm a meme lurker, so a lot of that stuff comes across my Matrix feed or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't even lurk the memes. I just I know 2 meme lords and they feed me memes. And all the memes I feed you, I get fed by the other guy.
Yeah.
So I get my meme fill.
You must send mine on to the other guy, hopefully, too. So.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I do.
Yeah. It's a win-win for Mike.
Exactly.
All right. And so we've got some experts that, and I mentioned this a bit at the top. We've got Franz de Waal, who's a primatologist, believed that Harambe was trying to protect or assert dominance over the child and not harm him. So they believed that Harambe was either trying to protect the child or kind of assert dominance over him so the other gorillas would leave the child alone. And the effectiveness of tranquilizers also kind of came into the conversation because field accounts suggested that the tranquilizers could provoke aggression in gorillas and not calm, which supported the zoo's decision. So it's not like the zoo was necessarily to blame. Again, because I think the enclosure was fine. I think they might have had to end up raising their barriers or something a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they modified the wall to make it more difficult for an unattended child to get through.
Sure.
Which is, I mean, I guess in hindsight, it probably already should have been that way. However, a certain level of personal responsibility goes a long way.
Yeah, and it's just something that's getting less and less, I think. I don't know. I mean, that could just be...
No, I think you're right. I think that we're becoming much softer, and through litigation, we're making everything everybody else's fault, and that's how you end up with train stops that are full of garbage and urine and homeless people hitting each other with sticks.
Well, I mean, humans have been hitting each other with sticks since the beginning of time.
Well, that's true, but not at train stations.
Well, if there were train stations back in the Quest for Fire days, they'd be hitting people there too.
I mean, probably.
Oh boy, yeah, we had to watch Quest for Fire at school once, and they fast forwarded a good half hour, which had the riverside or streamside caveman kind of rape. Anyway,
never watched
times.
it, never even heard of it.
My parents hated it, but I watched it as an adult, and it's got some big name actors in there, but there's no dialogue. They just grunt at each other. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. One of those things that I think was more culturally relevant back in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
And then we've got there's just a lot of people on the internet, of course, that came out and said a lot of different and contrary things, contradicting everything basically on the internet. And they actually had vigils, petitions, and even a mock presidential campaign, vote for Harambe, during 2016. They put a bronze statue in New York City's Bowling Green Park in 2021, and a fleeting Harambe Memorial Bridge naming in 2023-24. And there were, of course, songs by Young Thug, Dumbfounded, and Elon Musk's viral SoundCloud rap, Rip Harambe. So everyone was getting in on it back then.
Oh, big time. I remember there were animal rights activists who openly said that they thought that the child should have been allowed to be mauled before the gorilla was shot. Like, they should have just let the gorilla attack the little baby.
Jesus.
And they meant it. It was psychotic.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Leslie Jones memes, which then was brought in racism, accusations of racism.
Sure.
You know, that was rampant at the time, if you remember the online world. So,
well, let's get into some of that online world stuff right now, Mike.
Yeah. So the timeline, I think, was Harambe was shot, then the memes, and then there was the accusations of racism against the animal rights activists. And then the meme lords decided that Leslie Jones, for some reason, looked like Harambe. And then there was the Harambe-Leslie Jones combo memes. And that was about the time that Ghostbusters came out. So then there was the Ghostbusters with Harambe in it memes. Yeah. And then there was like a little scandal that Leslie Jones was the victim of the scandal, unfortunately. And then that became a whole nother set of memes, like Harambe revenge type of shit, you know? It was the meme that kept on giving for a long time. Months upon months.
Yep. Well, years. I mean, 2021, they put a statue of Harambe in New York City. It's
right.
Like 5 years after the event. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It seems like, I don't know if it really was that big of an event, or if because it became such a cultural zeitgeist that it catapulted itself to be its own big event.
It became a big event. I mean, it's just an incident at a zoo. I'm sure that they happen every year, multiple times a year.
Yeah, you would have to think.
I mean, you would think so, especially national parks. Like, you see the videos of people getting...
Oh, man. Yeah, you see, well, even if you go to a national park where they have buffalo or anything, like, the tourists get out and go right up to the wildlife.
Yeah, they want to go pet the elk. Which,
yeah,
mistake. That's a huge fucking mistake. Or the bear. They want to go pet the black bear.
Yeah.
Or feed it from the car. You see stuff like that where the bears will slam their arms through the glass and all kinds of stuff. It just doesn't make the news cycle.
Yeah. Well, I did see that they killed Marius the giraffe in 2014, but that was due to a population control and not a person getting in the pen or anything. And
sure, that's kind of like the lion, Cecil the lion, and that dentist from, I think, Minneapolis area.
Yeah, he was from like Edina, I think.
Something like that. I mean,
I was working in Edina, and people in the office were like, "Oh, we live here in Edina," and he's like, "Just down the road from us." But I thought, I don't know. I mean, people got upset, but he was in a national park in Zimbabwe, and he was illegally trophy hunted by Walter Palmer. So you know.
Right.
Hunter shoots lion, but again, like as hunters, you need to be aware of the land you are on.
Absolutely. There was an incident in Minnesota like that, but with a bear and reservation land.
Sure.
So it happens. People are not responsible. There was a similar incident that just happened, but with a lion, but it was the legal hunt. So, of course, it didn't make national news because it's not exciting. You know, there's no laws being broken. It was completely by the book animal culling for park purposes, and they were generating money for the park. And yeah, it's the typical professional hunter type story in Africa, right? But yeah, I don't know if we ever talked about that on the show.
No, I don't think
hunting.
So.
Yeah. Similar to the United States, animals were on the brink of extinction in many areas. And similar to the United States, they used hunting as the mechanism to save them. And of course, people in America don't think about it because it's just the way things that are done here, you know? But in Africa, they, for some reason, feel that African countries are different and they shouldn't do the same strategy that has proven effective in Europe and in America, which is ridiculous. But that's because people are ill-informed about how animal welfare and wild places are maintained and how that money is generated.
Yeah, and a lot of it is these people are being billed as trophy hunters, which a lot of times they are. But, you know, it's kind of like those bigger animals, yeah, you want their genes in the population to make more big animals, but then you don't get any diversity of your gene pool either. So it can actually be detrimental, from my understanding. And I'm not an expert.
I'm not an expert either. However, I know that, you know, if you're doing an active animal culling on a park by animal wildlife experts, and you're doing it in Africa, and you can sell a lion hunt for $100,000, and you have to call, let's say, 20 lions on the park, and the biggest one's 100,000, the smallest one's 20. So now you can generate $500,000, let's say, from culling of 20 animals controlled. Then you'd be a fool not to. That's just money. You have professional hunters already on the property who are doing wildlife management actively, just like culling off rhinoceroses or elephant or any of these big megafauna.
Yeah.
Of course, like the United States does that too. Like we have paid hunts in the United States, and that's why we have wildlife, right? Like big sheep hunts or whatever. It's just, it doesn't make the news here because the hunting lobby here is stronger. And like I say, I don't know what the root cause is. Maybe it's racism. Maybe it's anti-colonial feeling. But people get way more upset there. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like a lack of understanding of how wildlife preservation works.
Yeah, and if you're not educated about it, I mean, think of how easy it is to make the leap from wealthy American goes trophy hunting in Africa, kills this animal that people in Africa had a relationship with, or, had folk stories about, or whatever, right?
Right. It's understandable.
Like it's easy to say, like, they killed their favoriteest lion ever. Okay. Well, in Cecil's case, like it was illegally shot, so it's a little different. But
that adds a layer of corruption to it that made it a big story. Whereas I know for a fact there's been other incidents where there was a woman that shot a big deer in Africa. I'd have to look up the exact details.
Okay,
she got some heat, but it's not an endangered animal at all. It's just a herd animal that they have in a park, and they are allowing people to shoot a certain number. And of course it looks huge because this woman is 5 feet tall and 100 pounds.
Well, Africa. The animals from Africa. Every animal over there is huge.
And exotic to American eyes. Right?
Well, people
here don't know that they're not endangered or whatever, unless they look into it, which they won't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have deer farms down in Texas where they grow the deer huge, and they've got game farms. You can go shoot pheasants, and it's here in the States, and nobody's upset about those. At least not on a national scale.
No, there's deer farms in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan that have genetic mutant deer with 35 points on their antlers and shit.
Yeah, nobody cares. The whole nine.
Yeah, they look like literally dead trees on their heads.
Yep.
And people pay to shoot those. There's scams where people shoot them and then claim that they're wild,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't make national news.
No. Well, we do the same thing with, clear cutting or selective cutting of forests and things of that nature.
Sure. Well, in the United States, there's a rotation cycle and there's a lot of controls.
Well, and really the only reason we have to do a lot of this stuff is because we don't allow forest fires anymore, if we can help it, right? But back before Europeans came and back before we had water everywhere, or, plumbing everywhere, forests would just burn. That's part of the forest life cycle. They burn, and there's certain trees like the jack pine that can their seeds only open up after a fire. So it's part of the whole natural cycle, but it's pretty inconvenient if you're building houses there and other things, and forest fires would destroy more than just the forest or that section of the forest. So then we have to do all sorts of kind of man-made things to replicate in a safe manner what nature would normally do on its own.
Exactly. Well, animal populations are the exact same way.
Oh, yeah. I was just trying to make the correlation of
trees. It's a great correlation. It's exactly the same thing, just with trees instead of animals, Why do they still have bison hunts? Well, because if they allow the population to get too big, they might migrate. And they who do not want the bison running down to Texas from Saskatchewan or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You do not want that.
Yes.
People would not be okay with that, for sure.
You think you would be until it happens.
Yeah. You would be until you wouldn't be. And then you definitely wouldn't be. That could be a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk to the Sharks of the Corn guy, get him to do Bison of Saskatchewan.
Dude, that's a great idea. That is a great idea. You get a lot of Canadian actors in on it and go on a cattle run across America through Omaha or whatever.
Yep. Got to be Omaha, Ogallala, some of those other places. So
exactly. Whatever towns are in the way, draw a line.
Yep.
So they're going to be knocking down oil wells,
Yep. Trying to mate with the oil wells, the derricks, and whatever else.
Yeah, they rape a horse head.
Yep. Like the moose, man. They'll go after cars in mating season, I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that. I know that they're definitely dangerous during that time of year. You don't want to fuck with them.
I mean, I've seen a couple cars that I'm like, damn, that's a sexy car, but I've never really, wanted to buy it dinner or anything.
Right.
So, well, that's all I have about Harambe, and I'm not really digging the cigar too much anymore, Mike.
No, I have about 2 inches left, and
yeah, same.
I mean, this
is
not
one
horrible yet, but it's getting
it's
it
getting
will within
real
an inch.
Not nice. Yeah.
This
is one that I remember what Mike Palmer said is lawn mowing. If it's bad, if it's bad, just flick it and watch the lawnmower chop it up. And I'm about to that point where I'd almost rather see this chopped up than continue smoking it.
Yeah, I agree with that. If I were smoking this at a fire, which I did recently, I just came back from hunting trip. For those listening, welcome new listeners if you guys decided to listen to the first episode after the trip. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I would have thrown it into the fire. It's just not that great. And for $3, it's not worth.
We got out of it what we paid. So
yeah, we got worth out of it what we paid. I mean, it's a $3 cigar from a gas station. I would say that this is acceptable.
Yeah, we passed the halfway point, and then it started getting kind of unpleasant. So that's fine. It's fine with me.
Yeah, it's not remarkable. I haven't seen if you put a rating on it yet.
Oh yeah, no, I was just thinking like, I got to rate this thing yet too. So that's geez. Okay, I see what you did. I was going to go 2, but I went 1.75.
There we go. The reason why I gave it a 2 is that, like, with the knowledge that I have, you can have a relatively pleasant experience. Now, that means that it can't be a 2.5. 2.5, you have to be able to be fine pretty much, no matter what. And it's just bland or whatever. But this one does take some skill or knowledge to slow it down. Otherwise, this could be a really bad cigar. Somebody could have a really bad time smoking this, for sure.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's I give it a 1.75 just because even had there, you smoke it a little extra or a little harder or a little too quick, and you get some of that negative aftertaste. And towards the end, and I was smoking a little differently than Mike because I'm doing more talking, so then I puff a little extra to catch up or just try and keep pace with Mike because that's the whole point, right? We're trying to smoke it around the same time. And the flavors at the beginning were very stereotypical Connecticut. And that was it. There was nothing extra about it, nothing fancy about it, anything about it. It was just kind of that, kind of that nutty Connecticut flavor. And if you smoke it too fast, you get a little negative aftertaste. And by the end or past the halfway point, the negative aftertaste was taking the driver's seat of the flavor profile, at least for my smokes. So it would likely be worth it to try as a tequila cigar. If you're near a Binny's and you just want, a $3 stick that you can smoke half of and chop up in the lawnmower, throw in the fire, whatever you do with them, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I wouldn't tell you not to pick one up, but I likely won't. I won't.
No, the only reason I would ever smoke one of these again is to try one on the show. And I don't need to know that tequila would make it significantly better. But I'm not buying cigars specifically to make better with tequila, right?
Yes. I do, though, at some point, Mike, want to try a good cigar tequila style.
I agree with that. We should try something like that. Something we know, maybe like a Series R.
Yeah.
We can discuss it off the show, obviously.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Some standard cigar that we know is good that maybe we could enhance. But
yeah, we'll see if it's if we can bring it up to the When Harry Met Sally diner scene level, or if it's just slightly better. I don't know. The powers of tequila. It definitely does make bad cigars good or better. But again, like, you don't want to buy a cigar knowing that you have to do extra stuff to it to make it smokable. So anyway, I don't know.
A desperate attempt after you accidentally buy a box of a bad cigar.
Yeah, or you're like, I have so much tequila, what am I going to do with it all?
Right. That's not a problem in my household.
I know that, Mike.
Not a problem in my household. We'll make margaritas at least one time of summer, and then the bottle will be gone. I mean...
Yep. Well, once you open tequila, it goes bad if you don't finish it, so...
Yeah,
that's what I've always heard.
Sure, that's what I've been told. It's got a shelf life of 3 days, honey.
Yep. You got to get through this.
You got to get that handle. It's on sale.
Yep. Well, we're going to try the Maduro next. I'm not sure which one Simha was specifically talking about. I hope it wasn't this one, the Connecticut. But
I'm going to guess a Maduro's better. It's got to be.
It almost has to be. Just science. But we will find out. Thanks for listening. And remember, Dick's out for Harambe.
Be safe. Have fun.